on.
Okay. Well, folks, they told me to be on time, and I had my eyes dilated. The doctor did, and so I got a. Would this fit as a belly clock? You think? It certainly is too big for a wristwatch, but it might work as a belly clock, or as a foot clock even,
Oh, that would look good.
Yeah.
Right
That would
on
look
time.
real good. You could be a rap star if you did that. Flava Flav.
Flava Flav, what time is it?
Yeah. Anyway, I want to hear about the aliens pretty soon, but I was going to mention AI, we talked about last time. There's a whole lot to talk about with AI.
Yeah.
I was talking to, in a science magazine, I saw where they were advertising to get the graduate students, or students at even, I think, some graduate level.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were saying that STEM, and they listed all the STEM that they taught, and at the end they said, and AI.
Really?
Yeah, and the advertising for universities and stuff that comes through science magazines seems to be including that as an area of
Interesting.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So that really like speaks to the immediate future of where the world's going, I would imagine. If they're trying to get in with some of the greatest minds, they're trying to get as many people on this problem as they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
What do you guys think what do you think is going to be the role of the federal government? Because this is going to need to be regulated in some way. I mean, we're in the infancy of it right now. It's all brand new. But I've been reading articles off and on about, government committees being formed, a path forward for how this is going to be regulated on a federal level or even on a state level or even a local community level.
Yeah.
I just don't, I don't have a big enough mind to wrap my head around this and see what it looks like, but I'm just curious what you
therein
guys
lies
think?
the problem with the regulators.
Very good point. We don't understand either.
Well,
That is a really good
I
point.
think that's it. Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, they don't have their heads wrapped around it. Yet you keep reading that there is mystery AI, that these some of these robot type things or big computers or whatever they are seem to figure out how to make something different. We were cast with a willfulness or a open will that we could do as if we were robots of some sort. So they are figuring out how they could be that way too, and that's a dangerous thing. I was talking to my eye doctor about that. He said, I asked him what he thought about the AI situation that's coming up, and what he said was he thought it would be of great advantage to medicine and all kinds of things. And then I asked him about how do you control this thing, and he said, that's a risk. That's a risk we take.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I think it's a big risk, right? I mean, ultimately we don't know what we don't know, right? And I think if you take a look back at the immediate future, you have stuff like social media as the example that comes to mind first and foremost. But when that was coming onto the scene back in 06-ish, when I was in school, I remember it came out. But, you think back on that, and that has fundamentally changed the way we as humans communicate with one another. and express ourselves. So all that to say, like, you never knew what social media could be when you heard that Facebook was on college campuses.
No.
And we're in the same boat with AI. Like, we are so at the tip of the iceberg, it's hard to even fathom what the next 5 years will look
That's a
like.
good point, dude. Because
It
look at what
really
Facebook
is.
turned
Yeah.
into,
Yeah,
and look, and we know that same thing's
20
probably going to happen with AI.
right. No.
Wow.
25 years, cars drive themselves and all that, unless somebody puts a damper on it.
Right.
Somebody can put a damper on it. You know, the car manufacturers in, was it the early 1900s or the late 1800s? Anyway,
Mhm.
it was those big guys, you know. And they, I think it was Teddy Roosevelt made them eventually spread it out. So what'd they do? They bought most of the stock.
Oh, really?
Wow.
So he was trying to prevent them from monopolizing on it?
Yeah, so they bought a lot of the stock.
Showed them.
Yeah.
Well,
Showed
go
them.
you,
Yeah,
Teddy.
there's more ways to skin a cat than,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No joke. Yeah, in terms of automobiles and artificial intelligence, there are cars running right now in San Francisco that have no driver behind the wheel, which is pretty
been always.
intriguing. Yeah, right. Is that where the robot's running from? Are we in the simulation now? What do we do? What do we do?
We're in it right now.
We're in it right now.
We're in the
This is the
Matrix.
simulation.
What was that VW that Herbie?
Oh
Maybe.
yeah.
Oh,
Herbie the Love
yeah.
Bug. Oh yeah.
But that was a precursor.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you saying? I interrupted
No,
you.
I mean, it's just an interesting how quickly it's evolving, right? And I know there's a huge conglomerate of people, maybe not huge, but there's people out there that are completely against the automation of vehicles in general. And I think it's kind of a similar conversation to artificial intelligence, because if you look at a car driving down the road with nobody in the passenger seat, it feels like artificial intelligence right before your eyes.
Yeah.
But it's
kind of scary.
ones and zeros.
It's
Yeah.
scary, it's right. Yeah.
It
and,
is. Yeah. What do you think about self-driving cars? Are you in
Yeah.
it or not?
Well, I could use one.
You'd use one?
Yeah, I could use a self-driving car.
You wouldn't be hesitant to get behind the wheel of a self-driving car?
I wouldn't get behind the wheel. It would be driving itself.
That's true. You'd be in the back seat?
Be in the back seat. Yeah, I'd
go.
have a parachute on it.
Double airbags for me, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What about you?
Double airbags.
Would you drive in one?
Jamie and I have had this conversation, and it
Yeah.
is an emphatic no.
Is
right
that
now.
Yeah.
right?
It's an emphatic
There's no
right
way,
now.
huh?
If I was, I would be in the driver's seat with my hands ready.
Yeah.
I would be prepared
Yeah.
in case some sort of failure happened. I don't know. It's just
Yeah, if I had my family, then you would be hanging on the wheel. They make sure it goes to a safe place.
yes.
You know,
Oh, yes. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I recently got a new car, and they have the in lane feature. I don't know if you have this on
No,
your
I
car
don't.
or not, but it's like, so you're driving and there's cameras all over the outside of this car. So, like when you go to park, you can see it 360 view around your vehicle. It feels real
that
cool.
right?
Anyway.
Right on the
so-
screen right here, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly. And they
everything's
show
there.
you every side of the vehicle. It's like a top-down view. They show you
Cool.
all sides. It's really neat. But when you're driving, they have like I don't know what they call it, but essentially there's cameras on it to sense where the lines are on both sides of your vehicle. So if you start to drift off, it'll correct you. You'll feel the wheel
My.
come
That's
back
good.
into the lane. So like you start to drift off, and like it's nuts, man. It's
I
nuts.
Whoa.
drive that kind of car.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. We were driving back from a wedding at like midnight last weekend, and I was tired. Obviously, it's the middle of the night, and yeah, it kept correcting me. And at one point, it's like, "Bing, bing, bing! Keep your hands on the wheel, dum dum." I'm like, "Okay,
Really?
okay." But
That's
see,
all
stuff
right.
like that
Yeah.
feels like a value add to me, right? The technology's there; they're keeping me safe.
Well, that's it. But our You see, we got electric cars now, and it costs more. Actually, I believe it was Scientific American had an article about that. That it costs more to make the batteries and keep the energy in the batteries, like dams and all these coal-fired, oil-fired generator plants. That it costs more than it does to run a car on gas for the same distance and so on. I
Interesting.
thought that was interesting, but nobody pays attention to that.
No. I think like solar and all of this energy based stuff is so future that it gets people excited. You know what I mean? I think they hope for a future where the batteries will be small enough and efficient enough to outwork the combustion engine, but that does not seem to be the case from what I've heard. You're not the only person to mention that to me.
No, I can't see. They're not. Now we need to talk about positive, negative, and how you can drive a car like Buck Rogers might have driven a car.
Yeah.
That it could lift off the ground and go wherever you wanted to go and sit down like that. See, and yet movies do that too. But
like a hovercraft?
no, just it be powered by magnetic force, and well, you have a positive, and in the middle you have a dielectric, a very strong dielectric, and on the other side you have a negative, and it's a matter of getting those to work together so you can go where you want or stop where you want, that sort of thing. There's some evidence that the B2s are already using that kind of stuff, but I need to read more about that.
Interesting.
So they're flipping polarity back and forth, causing whatever it is to propel forward.
Yeah.
So they're flipping negative, positive, positive, negative.
No, just positive and the negative, but the dielectric keeps it from balancing. So it'll keep pushing until you do something with something or other to stop it.
To stop it.
Yeah, and that's coming. I don't know how soon or what, or it's got to be there for planes. I understand it's already there for B2s, positive on the outer wing, and the jets create the negative pulse, so that they're partly using at least the magnetic thrust. I don't know if
Interesting.
that's correct or not. Nobody's buying it anyway.
I'm buying it. I mean, the bullet train's a thing, right? Isn't that how the
Real
bullet
thing.
train
Those
works?
300 miles an hour maglev
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
floats on two opposing magnets.
yeah.
It still has thrust, and the way I understand it is it switches the polarity. Here's a negative
Yeah.
magnet, here's a positive, and they're going to push away from each other. And then as it moves forward, you make this one negative now, and then this one negative, and
Yeah, it could do
I
that.
might not have that explanation correct.
Or you could just slant your positive a little bit, so that
So
it isn't
tilt it.
getting the full amount. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Wouldn't that forever accelerate the craft though? If they were all just slightly pointed, wouldn't that forever be accelerating that?
Oh,
Well, I think magnetism, if you've ever held two magnets together, there's no speed in between it, like that,
Right.
But holding it under a paper with iron filings on it, do all kinds of things with
Oh,
it.
that's true. Yeah.
Remember
I
high
remember
school?
that experiment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Huh.
maybe not high school, maybe middle school or something like that. I don't know.
You could present this problem, or however you want to describe it, to an AI,
Yeah,
a deep blue type IBM supercomputer AI, and say, go to work on maglev and figure out how to make cars do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what they come back with.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I don't-
They maybe already have.
They maybe already have.
Yeah.
I've always been interested in a way that you could take the existing magnetic field of the Earth. And I think you've talked about this at one time.
Yeah.
Because
Tesla
it's a
did.
measurable force. It's a
Yeah.
very slight measurable negative force or positive. I'm not sure what the core of the Earth is,
I'll
positive or
do
negative.
that again. That's on the USP for flying saucers.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll talk about that again.
Yeah, okay.
Because
Interesting.
I don't really understand it all either.
That would be
There's a lot there,
interesting,
yeah.
Right?
And I think that's part of the intrigue is that we don't understand it all.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we don't understand it all.
Now you said something about any more about AI?
Not that comes to mind.
Okay.
You were going to ask me about UFOs.
Yeah, you mentioned it, something about aliens.
I did, yeah. There's this guy that keeps coming up on my feed, and he was the guy that testified in front of Congress, and I can't find the video, or I would play it right now. But essentially, what he was doing is he has a degree in physics,
Yeah.
and what he has seen based on the footage is that he has no way to explain the phenomenon that they're seeing, like the physics in which these crafts move about. He is completely baffled by.
USP,
What does USP stand for?
United System of Physics, that says that there's, we all think there's a vacuum out there.
Mhm.
There isn't. That's a spatial fluid that they can travel in very fast.
Interesting.
Out
I don't know
in-
any more than that about it, but
Huh. That's an interesting concept. I've never heard such a thing.
yeah. Oh, you haven't?
No.
Well, you're gonna.
Oh, nice. See, exactly. You got to learn us some stuff, Ivan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to learn us some stuff. Yeah.
Rather than
that's
be a
very
vacuum in
interesting.
space, is what you're talking about. There's some sort of a dark matter.
Well, no, it's I don't know what it is, and I don't know what it is right now. But he talks about this as that is something that explains, that has a mathematical finish to a mathematical problem that they're having with physics, that they put in a kind of a dumb thing, something to put in there to get it to come out. And yeah, well, so this is, he talks about this in a different way, so I'm going to have to get
That's super interesting.
Right.
Space isn't space. Space is just some sort of material that surrounds the planet.
yeah.
Is that right?
Well, remember when I talked about, that's another thing I talk about more, is those books, well, Enoch,
Mm-hmm.
and what was I going to say?
You were going to say something regarding Enoch and space not being space.
Oh, that's it. This guy, I don't know if I can say his name. Anyway, he wrote 2 books about that, and he went from Enoch all the way to Dr. D. You heard
Okay.
of Dr. D?
No, I don't know Dr. D.
We'll have to introduce you.
You know Dr. D? I don't have his phone number. No, Dr. D. He sent me over to his secretary.
Dr. Dre?
For Dr. Dre?
Dre,
Yeah.
do we
Dr. Is that you talking about Dr. Dre?
He was a contemporary with
Dr.
Queen
Drew?
Elizabeth I,
Oh.
and he was very well known. Obviously not to us.
Well, yeah. For sure.
Very well known.
Dr. D was like the Justin Bieber of his time. Is what he was. Yeah.
And so
Huh.
what there is okay. Here's another way of looking at reality
Okay.
that really isn't touchable very well. and that is
Oh, jeez. Oh,
Sawyer, no.
Speaking of not being in touch with reality, that just scared me back out of reality.
Yeah.
So you're saying reality.
Yeah, we have the Earth. We know pretty much about that, and all of our physicists and scientists are dealing with that sort of thing. There's another layer of reality that we don't see. And, it's like, well, you can't really explain it too well because you can't see it, can't touch it, can't get a spoonful of it or anything like that.
Right.
And so that is what they call the ether. You've heard of the word ether.
Right.
Yeah, you've talked about it before. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. And there's two ways to spell it: E-T-H-E-R and A-E-T-H-E-R. I think we're being summoned by something.
I think so too.
Yeah, so
So there's two ways to spell ether. Do they both essentially have the same definition, or do they have different definitions?
they have different definitions, but they're the same because the ether was considered that something that the Earth moved in. You couldn't see it, but there was no way to discover how fast it was, or how much it was, or what happened to it. So they just threw it out. Ether then became space. Now, however, well, I'm going to be talking about another layer too, as soon as I can read more.
Yeah.
That talks about this in terms of the Bible, even.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's for later.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting concept. And like I'm trying to think about what made me trigger to you, hey, let's about UFOs, look what's going on. And I think the video that starts to come to mind through this conversation is there's this guy that was talking about not understanding these different videos. Like he physically could not explain it, being a doctorate in physics. But essentially what he went on to say is that there's a potential that this UFO following that's big right now could turn into its own religion. And by that, religion is kind of a way to cope with the unexposed. And by following the thought of there's UFOs and aliens out there, you're essentially putting your faith into the religion of the unexplained extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting concept.
It's something the existing major religions would welcome because it would put it out of the way.
That's a good point because religion is kind of that same foundation.
They try to
We believe
do that,
something, but we can't see it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Well,
it all.
that's it. Yeah. That's it. It's yeah.
Boom!
Yeah,
Blew my mind. Yeah, no, it's always good to discuss, these different things with you, Ivan, because you are so brilliant. You know what I mean? Like you take a different viewpoint on a lot of the stuff, and the knowledge that you have to draw from is pretty impressive.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun talking with you guys.
Yeah, well,
yeah, that's cool.
I mean, I enjoyed this week more than last week, because last week you had me on my heels without words. What was it? You're just like, so should a human have choice? Yes. So should artificial intelligence have choice? No. Okay. You just contradicted yourself. So it's always good. Yeah, that's good. I appreciate it. Well, cool. Thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate you being here with us this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for another episode of the Ivan Files.
The Ivan Files. Thanks for joining us. Anything else you want to add, Ivan?
Did anybody, what'd you say?
Anything else you want to add before we wind this thing down?
No, but there's a lot to come.
Okay.
There's a lot to come around that whole issue, and I'll try to get to the USP for flying saucers more as we go along. As I understand it, it's like I saw some stuff from the University of Washington. They had they had part of the concept of, maybe I'm not gonna get it right, but, of a vortex, a vortical, thing, and that's got a whole mathematical system, to think about there. I wish I
Interesting.
paid better attention when I was in school.
Hey, well, I mean, look at me. I didn't
Don't we
pay
all?
any attention. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, good. Well, thanks for joining us out there. We appreciate you. We'll be back next week for another episode of The Ivan Files.
Yeah. So long.
All right, see you then.
Ciao. Or wait, no, that doesn't sound like alien. That sounds like it's more of an Asian descent there.
Well, I wonder when they're gonna fly in and see us. Some maybe if we get it right.
Yeah.